This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
You know, some whack job can say this stuff and get away with it?
Well, let's get back to it.
The only person that can scam America is me. Very important. Temperatures in Spain could reach 47 degrees centigrade this weekend. Infernos in Italy have led to roads melting and raging wildfires continue to tear through Greece. And it's all thanks to global warming.
Thank you.
A heat dome has settled over the continent, and a hot blast from Africa will lead to temperatures to rise to 46 or 47 degrees centigrade, according to one scientist who is an expert in possession of facts. So no one was remotely interested in anything he had to say. A heat dome has settled over the continent, and I've just read that bit. And while the south of Europe is on fire, France and Germany have been hammered with ferocious rain and hail and storms and flooding and thunder, lightning. Very, very frightening. Meanwhile, in Britainland, it's hotter than an exploding star. Brits are facing highs of 36 degrees centigrade in the next few days. And I will translate European surrender centigrade for His Majesty's feet and inches. So let's see now. To get from centigrade to feet, you just double it and add 32. It's so easy an idiot could do it. So centigrade to feet, double it and add 32. So 36 to centigrade is 36 times 2 is 74. 74 plus 32 is 118. Wow. The temperature's going to be 118 feet. Can you believe that?
Yes.
The UK Health Security Agency has issued an alert that will last until Tuesday at 6 p.m. precisely, and it covers London, the East Midlands, the South East, South West and the East of England. What they said was...
Emergency, everybody to get from street. Emergency, everybody to get from street.
Of course, listeners in Glasgow will get their own weather.
Correct.
I will check on that while you wait, but I don't really see the point. One moment, please, caller. Your call is important to us. An operative will be with you shortly. Actually, we're fresh out of operatives. Would a robot do?
Affirmative.
I had a fight with one of those today. It was driving me nuts. I was trying to get hold of my broadband supplier.
No!
Yeah, and can you do that?
No.
No, you cannot. It used to be that you could call up a company that you did business with. It was something that you could do. They had a phone number, and you could call them up on the telephone. And if you didn't want to wait from now until the end of time in a queue, then you could leave them an email. Can you do that? No, you can't. Not nowadays. We will connect you to a chatbot. Anybody have any luck with a chatbot?
No.
No, me neither. So I kept typing in my my chatbot script, can I please talk to a person? Which discombobulated it just a little bit. And it said, well, let's first see what your problem is. Does your problem fall into the following 86,000 different categories? And I read through, and no, it doesn't. So I asked, can I please talk to a person? Pretty please with sugar on top. I'm being very nice. It took forever. I mean, after a while, I did wear it down, and the robot gave up. That's how determined I was. But then I was, of course, put in a queue for from now until the end of time for an actual real-life human being to... It might not have been a human being. It might have been just a more intelligent robot. But you know me, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
OK, so back to the weather. Oh, yeah, Glasgow. I was going to look that up, wasn't I? Before I went off on my rant. Not a rant, just a perfectly reasonable thing to say, that's all. It's raining at the moment in Glasgow. Don't call and tell me it isn't, because it is. What? Not raining tomorrow? Pfft, rubbish. Or Sunday? Come on. Oh, no. Sunday night. Yeah, raining on Sunday night. Also raining on Monday, and raining on Tuesday, and raining on Wednesday, and just double-checking Thursday. No, you're going to get a dry day on Thursday, but not on Friday. It will be raining on Friday, and then raining next to Saturday the 5th. And pretty much every day for the rest of your lives. Oh, well, never mind. You knew what you voted for. So listeners in Glasgow will get their own weather, and for everybody else, it's going to be hotter than an oven on fire. And that's because we have very warm foreign air coming over here, taking the job of our homegrown British air. We will be forced to breathe second-hand European air that's been inside French people.
Disgusting.
Would you like to hear the long-range forecast for the next 4 weeks?
No.
OK, this is for the next couple of weeks. At first, mostly dry. Mostly. But some rain, mainly affecting you-know-where. And then, till the end of the first week of July, cooler, fresher, sunnier, showerier. Bit of everything. If it isn't one thing, it's the other. And then, middle 2 weeks of July. Middle 2 weeks of July. Blimey, it's practically autumn already. Don't time fly fast when you're passed out in the heat. Pretty soon there won't be any leaves on the trees, and Jesus' birthday just around the corner. Middle 2 weeks of July, changeable, showers or longer spells of rain, but also drier and brighter. Doesn't know what it wants to do. Wet in the northwest, dry in the southeast. Overall, temperatures are likely to be above average with very warm or hot spells in the south. Temperatures are likely to be above average with very warm or hot spells in the south. We'll take it. Paul in Kent says, what's wrong with this country? Well, that could be a topic from now until the end of time, couldn't it? Don't get me started, Paul. He says, I was driving along, I see so many new Teslas. In the rest of Europe, sales are down. And to top this madness off, people seem to want reform to be in charge. Can anyone tell me what any of their policies are, other than shouting at small boats, wearing Union Jack socks and hating rainbows? Yeah. I've got no idea. And a very small minority of people in this country want reform to be in charge. Don't get carried away with all that nonsense that they print in the press about them winning the next general election. They got about 25% of the vote, there or thereabouts. That's it. A quarter. It's a screwed up political system that would, at this moment, give them even a sniff of power. A quarter. That's it. Gabriel in Hackney says, did you hear about the Norwegian lad this week who was strip searched and fingerprinted and had his blood taken and left in holding for 5 hours? What, all of his blood? That's unreasonable. I mean, they could have left him a bit. You're smuggling blood, sunshine. And he was left in a holding cell for 5 hours at US Customs and then sent home, all because he had a meme of J.D. Vance looking like a chubby kid. Yes, and that is rude.
Be polite.
Yes. Yeah, I did hear about that. One moment, please. I've got full details. Mads Mikkelsen. Not that one. He's 21 and he's from Norway. He's told how he was strip-searched and humiliated at New Jersey's Newark Airport after immigration officers found a meme on his phone of J.D. Vance without hair.
What?
Yeah. And anybody over the age of 50 is going, what's a meme? A tourist claims he was humiliated by immigration officers and denied entry into the United States after they found a J.D. Vance meme on his phone where the US president was bald. Well, there's a video on my phone of a dumpy old guy in bad makeup and a candy-floss toupee dancing to 1970s gay disco in front of a crowd of hollering, toothless yeehaws. What do you think about that?
I don't wear a toupee.
A French scientist was also denied entry at the border in March after officers unearthed messages criticising Trump on his phone.
Don't be rude.
So go ahead, you Trump cult fans. Tell me this is normal. Tell me this is just Trump derangement syndrome, that the man in the White House is so scared of being made fun of that he forbids entry to the whole of America if you have ever laughed at him. So there's this kid called Mads Mikkelsen, not that one. He had arrived at New Jersey's Newark Airport on June the 11th. He was pulled aside by border control and placed in a cell. He was travelling to the US to visit friends, first in New York and then in Austin in Texas. But he said he suffered harassment and abuse of power at the hands of the US immigration authorities. He claimed he felt humiliated before being taken to a room where he had to hand over his phone. And you can imagine what that would have done to the mind of a 21-year-old. My phone? He said, I felt prejudiced, suspected and simply humiliated, even then in front of many other people at the airport, said Mads Mikkelsen, not that one, from Tromsø in Norway. He said, they took me to a room with several armed guards where I had to hand over my shoes, my mobile phone and my backpack. I need your clothes, your boots and your motorcycle.
Affirmative.
Officers quizzed Mads about his visit and his plans before adopting a personal line of questioning. He said they asked direct questions about drug smuggling, terrorist plans and right-wing extremism completely without reason. They demanded full information about everyone I was going to meet in the US, including names, addresses, phone numbers and what they did for work. He said, I travelled 12 hours to get there, slept poorly and was physically and mentally completely exhausted even before they started questioning me. He said they threatened me with a minimum fine of $5,000 or 5 years in prison if he refused to provide the password to his phone. And after handing over his password, Mads Mikkelsen, not that one, was told that he would not be allowed to go through with his planned holiday after 2 images were not to the officer's liking. One image was of a meme showcasing J.D. Vance with a bald, egg-shaped head, variations of which are on a social media site near you. But
Warning!
the current regime in America does not have a sense of humour when it comes to itself. In fact, they seem positively deranged on that score. Trump has a derangement syndrome about his critics, not the other way round. And so Trump's goons took umbrage at an ally of the dear leader being made fun of. Not even Trump himself, but J.D. Vance, who, by the way, before he was given the job of vice president, called himself a never-Trumper, said Trump was America's Hitler, said he never liked him, that you're an idiot if you voted for him, and said Trump was taking America to a very dark place. Wait till the airport cops get a load of J.D. Vance's phone. And Mads Mikkelsen, not that one, claims that he tried to say the images were harmless and meant as jokes. You know, funny. But the immigration authorities ignored his pleas. He said he was then strip-searched, forced to give blood samples, a facial scan and fingerprints. He says, I was taken back in and the situation got even worse. I was pushed up against a wall and was strip-searched with a lot of force. They were incredibly harsh and used physical force the whole time, he said. God, it must have been like being on a date with Donald Trump. He said, I felt... I didn't know I was going to say that. That just came right out of me. He said, I felt completely devastated and broke down and was close to crying several times. It was like being on a trip out with Donald Trump. He says, I was on the verge of panic. It felt like I was a terrorist suspect where I was sitting. I had to try to pull myself together several times, but in the end, I just wanted to get home again. And then he was placed in a cell for a further 5 hours, refused food or water, and placed on a plane back to Oslo the same day he arrived for a holiday of a lifetime. And this happened to a Norwegian who was, by the way, in case you're interested, white. You know, the right kind. The kind that Trump actually said that America could do with more of. I like the white Norwegians very much. Travellers and holidaymakers, other countries are available. Everything that is in America that you would want to see is also available in a country that isn't run by a wannabe tyrant, so thin-skinned that he will have his people actually bar you from entry if you've ever made fun of him. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
This is absolute tosh.
Thanks, Nigel. You're the best. Where are you, by the way? Where's Nigel? That should be like a constant game. Where's Nigel? Which country is he in today? Clacton? Of course not. Just kidding. Cullen in North Scotland. Hello, Derek.
I'm looking out the window and I can't see Nigel here. Sorry.
Not there. Right. Okay, well, strike...
Well, Matt Damon is.
Matt Damon?
Yeah, he's shooting a new Christopher Nolan film up here.
Right.
Odyssey, I think it's called.
Christopher Nolan. He's the guy that did...
Inception.
Yes, Inception. Anybody have any idea what that film was about?
No.
No.
Not a clue. I mean, I've seen it a couple of times and I still have got absolutely no idea what happened at the end, apart from everybody started floating in the sky and and then they all got wet, and I've got no clue.
Don't know. I've got a question though. Who's Madge Nicholson? I know Madge Bishop, but Madge Nicholson, who?
Madge Mickelson, 2 M's.
Oh.
Yeah, Mickelson. He was in that really good Hannibal Lecter thing. I think it was just called Hannibal, wasn't it?
Okay.
A very, very good series. Very well shot, very stylish. A bit gory. If you don't like watching people eat other people, then it's probably not for you.
I'll give it a go. 2 things I want to speak to you about: golf and leisure.
Golf?
Boring.
Go on then.
Right, see, when I was at high school, I was rubbish at every sport, right? Then I left school and I found out you could actually go to the trophy shop and buy your own trophies. Now I'm good at everything.
You bought a selection of your own trophies.
Yeah, so now I'm the world champion at everything, I'm telling you. Which I thought was pretty, okay, I'd say.
Well,
Something's going to happen.
It's borderline. It's borderline genius. I mean, do you display them on the mantelpiece?
No.
No.
Genius is the commander in grief. Have you seen him playing golf?
I've seen him waddle to and from his golf cart, but not doing what I'd actually call playing.
I think it was on a par 4 tee, took a couple of practice swings, and then he lined up the shot and he swung. The ball went nowhere, but the crowd went wild. What a great shot! And he just put the ball in his pocket.
I think that was an AI video you watched there, Derek.
No.
I'm afraid that I think was doctored tape.
Oh, okay. Well, one thing that is real is the leisure wear. My 14-year-old son is insisting that he buys the daddy T-shirt, and I says, nope. No.
Oh,
have you seen it?
Donald Trump's daddy T-shirt?
Yeah, the orange T-shirt with the...
Your 14-year-old son said he wanted to buy one of those?
Yeah, for the lols.
Okay. I'd throw him out onto the street for the lols.
Yeah.
See how he likes that.
Bad boy.
Bad parenting. Yeah, I know. All right, thanks a lot. Yeah, well, I don't know. I am blaming the parents. Who else? All right, thanks a lot, Derek. Richard says, hi, Nick, there's a nugget of information for you on this happy day. If somebody in ancient Egyptian times, i.e. 3,000 years BC, had started setting aside $100,000 every day and maintained that until now, they still wouldn't have accumulated as much money as Jeff Bezos has. Huh. Hey, Jeff, consider doing something as radical as pay your taxes?
No.
No, I didn't think so, no. Mr. Bezos pays all of the taxes that are legally applicable in every jurisdiction in which he does business. Belsize Park. Hello, Judy.
Hello. In the winter, we have the winter fuel allowance.
Yes.
Because of the extreme cold and worrying about paying electricity bills.
Yeah.
Well, you've been talking about the weather now. We should have a summer cool-down allowance because air conditioning and the cost if you have an electric fan and things like that are costing an absolute fortune.
I wonder what the figures are. I could look it up, but that would be, even though I'm at work, that would still count as homework. I wonder what the numbers of deaths are from extreme heat as compared to extreme cold. I bet they're not too dissimilar.
Well, they were saying the other day, it was actually quite spooky because they said on one of the days on your station, they said we expect 266 people to die today of heat. And I'm thinking, how the hell do you know the 266?
That's very, very precise. 200. I guess they're averaging it out over the 3 months of summer last year.
But would it not make just as much sense to give people an allowance to the rise in their electricity bills now?
Yeah. Well, it would make sense to give people a little air conditioning unit. Because the thing with most people live in, I don't know whether this is true, but even if it isn't, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. Most people live in flats, and most flats have only got one aspect, as estate agents would describe it. They've only got one window on one side. You know, all their windows are on one side of the building, so you don't get blow through, and so that they just become like an oven.
Yes.
and that's not good for you.
And the higher up, in general, the higher up the building you go, the hotter it is.
Is that true?
Yes.
Well, you say yes, but that very much sounds like something you just made up.
No, well, we have a house. We're fortunate enough to have a house, and when you go up the stairs, it is much warmer at the top of the house than it is at the bottom.
Yeah, but the house is open to itself, so the heat just goes up the staircase. But that doesn't apply in a flat.
No, well, they have a communal staircase that goes up, presumably. But anyway, the principle is the same, isn't it? If you're having severe heat, which we are at the moment,
yes,
then it is just as justified to want to help people with their bills for their electricity as it is in the winter.
Right. Well,
so why has this not been suggested?
Because until this moment, Judy, nobody had thunk about it.
Well, they should think about it.
Well, yeah, shoulda, woulda, coulda. I'll tell you what the temperature's going to be like in your fashionable London. Oh, my God.
Yeah.
On Monday, it's going to peak at 92, and 92 will feel like 99. Oh, because of the humidity.
That's blood temperature.
Well, then we'll be fine.
In English, in 99, the normal blood temperature, if you're doing it in Fahrenheit, is 98.4.
Right.
I don't know centigrade.
Well, you double it and add 32. So 98.4 times 2 is, well, it's just a very large number, that's all. Nobody really knows what that is.
No.
Yeah, but it's a very, very large number, and I think you'll find that is correct.
But you can't have an outside... If your outside temperature is hotter than your blood, don't you explode? I don't know. I'm not.
Well, somebody should look into that very strongly, because if people are in danger of exploding, then I think that somebody should be doing something about it.
I don't know. I mean, my late father was a doctor, but I never thought to ask him.
Right. Well, you had your chance and you blew it.
Yes. But anyway, I'm back to what I started 5 minutes ago.
Yeah.
I think if it is justifiable, and it is, to give people a winter fuel allowance for extreme cold, then it is very, very important to help with the heat. And also, it somehow is easier to keep warm because you can always add loads of layers and jumpers and stuff.
You can't take your skin off.
You can't take your skin off, no.
Because of the mess, mostly.
Yeah. So I'll leave that thought. And maybe other people might... you know what all this goes back to? Nothing ever adversely affects a member of the government. So I'll bet they have got lovely cooling air blowing through all their offices and everything.
Yeah, no doubt. I don't know that that's true, but I would imagine that it is. And if they don't, then they're probably rented air conditioning units on us. We're paying for it.
That's our great pleasure.
No, it isn't. We suffer through it, but the government, on the government's behalf, Judy, we'd like to thank you for all of those, all of that tax money that you've paid in over the years. We appreciate it. They do.
They do. Yeah.
All right. Well, thanks for bringing that whole exploding people thing up there, Judy. That does make a lot of sense. I maintain that you should, when in very great heat, do what experts do. Kangaroos. I mentioned this last week. Kangaroos lick their little forearms so that the evaporation cools down the blood in their arms, which then cools down the blood around the rest of their person, because it's all connected. You know, the arms are connected to the... I don't really know what the arms are connected to in a kangaroo. Their chest muscles? No idea. But anyway, they do that. So if you put cold water, because, you know, like taking all of your clothes off to have a shower is difficult if you're out of the house. But mostly you can put cold water on your forearms, and that has the benefit of cooling down your entire person. Trust me, I'm a doctor. By which I mean...
I'm not a doctor.
Don't trust me.
Nick Abbot on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yeah!
This text says, Nick, I've had Glastonbury on all day, and the amount of wokeness on display would make your average reform voter react like the brainwashing scene in A Clockwork Orange. All those kids with the flags in front of the stage, that's so annoying. I don't know why they allow them, why security personnel aren't barging their way through crowds to take down whoever is waving one of those stupid flags. What are they for? I mean, okay, if you're up the front at the pyramid stage and your mate has to go and, has to go and queue to take a pee or whatever, and you want them to find you when they get back, then I suppose it makes sense. But you don't have to fly it all day. I mean, and they've got these silly little jokes on them. Like one year somebody had one that said sausages. I mean, for crying out loud. How moronic do you have to be to fly a flag that says sausage? All week long, by the way. I mean, the event is like all week. The coverage lasts 3 days, but the event lasts plenty longer than that. And they were in the same place every day. Sausages. That's funny, isn't it? Or some political comment, or just some lame joke. And what they do is they ruin the view from the TV cameras. Not that I'm really very interested in watching any of the people that are on the stage this year round. But if I did, then the view would be ruined by these morons with flags. 0345 6060 973. I heard that Neil Young isn't going to allow them to show his set.
What?
Yeah. I think David Bowie pulled the same trick, didn't he? He didn't want the coverage to last the whole set. So I think at the time of recording, when he played that set on Saturday, wouldn't it? I think they only showed like 5 songs. I was apoplectic because they cut away to, the usual jabbering people going on and on and on about, how great it is. It was great to be here. Yes. Yeah, I'm sure it is. Yeah, you're in one of those glamping tents paid for by us, the taxpayer, and you're having a marvellous time getting paid for it on top. Yeah, I'm sure it's lovely. And I think that Neil Young is doing the same this time around. Like, we can't see the whole set, or maybe any of it. I don't know. He's flipped his lid about something or other, and he's very, very upset. About what? I don't really know. I think he read the word corporation, as in British Broadcasting Corporation, and thought that it had gone corporate. Aylesford. Tony.
Hello, Nick.
I think that's true. I think he read corporation and thought, oh, it's gone corporate now. I'm not interested.
I've absolutely no idea what you were just saying about. I was just laughing, yes. Hello, Nick.
Yes.
Hi. Yeah, you mentioned Inception just before. I have absolutely no idea what that film was about. And I remember watching that in the cinema. And is it with Leonardo DiCaprio?
Yes.
Yeah, I had no idea either. So I thought, no, I'm in the middle of a big move today, and I thought, no, I have to go outside. And I have no signal where I've moved. And then you mentioned about, like, getting Wi-Fi. There is nothing. So I'm, like, literally outside the back gate, which I'm sure I don't look like a weirdo. But anyway, I digress. Yeah, but if you get and speak to one of them bots, you need to type "speak to an agent," and then you should get through. But it's a nightmare.
Well, I asked it over and over again. Can I speak to a real human being? And it kept refusing. It kept asking me more and more questions. Does your query follow into the following 6,000 categories? Tick the one that's appropriate. None of them were.
It's awful. It's absolutely awful. It drives you crazy. Yeah. So yes.
And this, by the way, was in response to them saying to me that I had missed my last payment, and my next payment was due, and if I didn't pay up straight away, that they were going to rescind my platinum status. They were going to cut me off, and then I'd be like you, back to living in a cage as far as communications go.
Well, do what Donald Trump says, sue him. Anyway.
But I had paid. My bank account shows that I have paid them. They told me I hadn't, then I had to spend half a day trying to get to speak to a human being to actually confirm that.
You're not allowed to mention the company, are you?
No.
No. No, that's fair enough. Right, so the Inception, come on to the bit I called that. Oh, I've got a confession. I've got something to tell you. And all your listeners. I am a new member of your... Can you believe this? No, honestly, Nick Abbot radio fans, I criticised it. I thought, no, don't do it, Tony. Now, do you know what? There are a few idiots, but the majority of them are really nice, and I just wanted to say that. They know who they are, and I just wanted to say that. So I thought I'd mention it.
What is it?
Really,
what is it?
it's a group on Facebook, Nick Abbot Radio fans.
Facebook,
yeah.
Right. Yeah, I don't really look at Facebook.
I don't blame you.
I had forgotten it was there. Like, I've forgotten Instagram is there as well. I do have an account on Instagram. Ask me what my password is. I've got no idea. I might never be able to get in there again.
Yeah, I don't blame you, but I did look on it, and it was kind of at first, because you know what, I think a lot of people, there was a lot of like harsh comments. Love Laura, love Jan, and love Sophie. But you know what? I thought, God, I read it because my friend said to me, "Oh, you want to hear what's said?" And I thought, no. And then at first, it was brutal. I thought, no, keep reading on. And do you know what? I know. It was just so nice what a lot of people were saying, and I put a few comments in there. I'll have a little look now and again, but it was quite nice to watch.
Okay, well, it's nice to be nice, and I appreciate all of that, but you'll probably be better advised going outside and having a nice time in the real world.
Yes, I agree. Right, Donald Trump, did you see about an hour or two ago, he was sitting down and he had all these people behind him. Yeah. He was just blabbering on. I think he's going senile. I honestly do.
If you read out what he actually says and you hear it in anybody else's voice, it does sound as though he's lost it.
Yeah, no, this was something else. I don't know what it was about, but he's been, like, literally, he had, and then I can't remember her name because it's something to do with the Supreme Court. It was Pam Bondi or something, and he was just moving over, and then they spread apart. They wouldn't even buy the microphones. Oh, it was embarrassing.
Everything about it is embarrassing, Tony, and I want you to keep me updated at all times, all right?
I will do.
Okay, excellent work, that man. Thanks a lot. Try decaffeinated coffee. Just calm down just a little bit. I mean, you know, a life will last longer if you attack it at a slower pace. That's all. 0345 6060 973. You know, it occurred to me that I was looking at Pete Hegseth. Oh, that guy. And now he's taken over Donald Trump's trick of attacking the press. You know, the Luden press. Everything that they do is from Hitler's playbook. I mean, it just is. The Luden press. Hang on. The Luden press, the lying press, or fake news. That's a Hitler thing. Attacking the universities, attacking the intellectuals, attacking the art, attacking the, you know, everything. Everything, every single thing they're doing is from that book. And, I've forgotten what I was talking about now. It'll come back to me. This text says, Nick, did you hear that Diaper Donny expressed himself in builder's language the other day?
Disgusting.
Yes, I did. That's because he did essentially the equivalent of walking into a bar, punching someone in the face, and then telling everyone to calm down. And then declaring himself the winner. And they didn't calm down. And so he's not the winner. He couldn't solve in 10 seconds a fight that's been going on 1,000 years. And he was just appalled. He hasn't been able to do a single solitary thing that he promised so far, has he? He was going to stop the Ukraine war in one day. And somebody from the fake news media asked him about that, and he said, it's much more difficult than anybody knew. No, everybody knew it was going to be difficult, Donny, except you. Keith in Poland says, hey, Nick, while the dear Supreme Leader prefers to be called Daddy, don't you think that the Orange Obliterator has a better ring to it? No. Just because they both begin with the letter O doesn't mean it's a thing. The Orange Obliterator, no. My thought was, the one that escaped me some moments ago, looking at Pete Hegseth, I mean, he's not a serious person. He's a TV show host. And it occurred to me, oh yeah, all of the people that Donald Trump has hired look like television talk show hosts. That's why he's hired them. He's making a TV show. None of them appear to have the slightest idea of what they're doing. He's got people who are in charge of the economy who don't know how tariffs work, or who are pretending they don't know how tariffs work in order to keep themselves in Donald Trump's good books. They've got the health chief, who, apart from anything else, looks like he was left on the barbecue for an hour too long, and sounds like he's about to pass out at any moment, and appears to be anti-health. And you could just go down the list. All of these people don't have any business running the departments that he's given them to run, apart from that they look good on television. That's it, isn't it? All of the women all look like Fox TV news show hosts. They all look like they spend most of the day ironing their hair and picking out outfits that are super tight in order for their close-up. All of them. Name one woman that Donald Trump has appointed as a major feature of his cabinet that does not look like that. They all look as though they would show you to your table in a Hooters. That's because he hasn't hired them to be good at their jobs. He's hired them to be good on television. And that's the key to it, isn't it? That's the end of it right there. He's making a TV show. And we're being forced to watch it whether we like it or not. This is it's like a cable channel that you can't cancel. 034, yeah, good luck with that if you try, by the way, because you'll be speaking to a robot from now until the end of time, whether you ask to speak to a human being or not.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Listen to him. He knows everything.
Martin says, my 14-year-old daughter, Penelope, will not go to sleep as she prefers your show over her beauty sleep. Sing her a lullaby, says Martin. Hey, Penelope, go to sleep. Paul in Sale says, at the school sport event today, a child exclaimed that they're going to Peppa Pig World at the weekend, which got me thinking, has that certain person been able to pronounce Peppa Pig World yet? Because that 6-year-old child managed it perfectly.
Peppa Pig World. Peppa Pig World is it has...
yes.
Peppa Pig
is the right answer.
The great big greedy nincompoop.
Got the right answer. Can you believe that? Still not missing you, Bodge, by the way, in case you were wondering. Andy in cold Edinburgh. Is it? Cold? Well, Edinburgh is known for its coldness. He says, Dear Nick, your broadband goes down, so you send them an email and talk to a chatbot. No wonder the chatbot was messing with you. Senior moment or what? Says Andy, who clearly wasn't listening, because I didn't say my broadband went down. I said they threatened to take my broadband away from me because they claimed I had not paid my bill. But I have paid my bill, which they admitted as soon as I got to speak to a real live human being, which took forever. How come they charge you for telling them they've made a problem? Because usually these things are, if they actually provide you with a phone number, which this one didn't. I mean, what kind of a business doesn't have a phone number, for crying out loud? You can only contact them through their own web page, and then you go into this this like sinkhole of unhelpfulness that is created by a robot.
Affirmative.
I mean, it seems to me like a proper business would have a phone number you could call them on. But, that's, I suppose, anybody under the age of 30 is going, what's the phone number, Grandad? Exactly. So, yeah, they told me I hadn't paid my bill, but I had paid my bill, and it took forever. And so how come I can't charge them for my time in correcting their mistake? Merthyr Tydfil. Hello, Jeff.
Well, Nick, how are you?
Good, thanks.
I don't know if you know Vince. Do you know Vince? He lives in London. Well, he was in the Goosey Cook.
Vince, do I know? Well, because we both live in London, you mean?
Yes.
Right.
He came to the Goose and Cuckoo and asked for me.
Right.
Jeff from Merthyr.
Right.
And I happened to be there.
Wow.
Lovely guy. Hi, Vince. Hope you enjoyed your time down here. Okay. Done that out of the way.
Right.
Now, what, SCOTUS, the Supreme Court of the United States, they've gone and done whatever they're going to do. Trump and his cohorts, those idiots, were shouting about NBC, about CNN, about Washington Post, and calling them scum because they're dared to ask, was it true?
Ask a question, And their answer, the question was, did they knock out and totally obliterate, as Donald Trump said, Iran's nuclear capability? And their answer was, the scum press can't possibly know that it was only set back a couple of months because it was all underground and no one's seen it yet. So how can Trump's people know that the press was wrong if it's all underground and no one's seen it yet?
Yeah, well, that's look, Nick. It was obliterated. Don't you understand the word obliterate? I mean, look. You've no right to ask these questions. None whatsoever. But more importantly, what I'm thinking, I've been thinking all week when I'm watching this show on the television, I'm getting very frightened, Nick. I want to dissociate myself from everything I've said before.
Yes.
I didn't mean it. Okay, Nick? because these people are going to find me. I feel that they are going to look for me and find me. Never mind the Norwegian tourists.
Yeah.
This is you and me.
Well, we do have an extradition treaty with America, and I would not be remotely surprised if they made it a term, a condition of a trade deal, if America could pick and choose whichever people they want extradited from this country straight to an American jail. I would not. In fact, I would be surprised if they didn't do that.
I can't believe that this is happening. But the more importantly, Nick, who's his best mate? Who's his friend? Who that unmentionable person from an unmentionable party?
Well, it's easy for you to mention. Which party? Oh, yeah. Well, if a certain person from an unmentionable party gets in, then all bets are off because they are paid for by the same people. It's one big program. It's called countrypreneurship. They want to take over the world.
They do, and they come in for the likes of you.
Yes, that's right.
And
in order to save myself, Jeff, I'll point you out in a crowd. All right.
Don't forget Vince, okay? He's been listening to you. He's been listening to you ever since you started.
I didn't say anything.
And he came to the Goose and Cuckoo, and he said, "Where's Jeff? Is Jeff here?"
Right.
And there I was.
Nothing to do with me. I've been fitted up. But I'm glad to hear that everything is fine down at the Goose and Cuckoo.
Okay.
Thanks a lot, Jeff. 0345 6060 973. Vince in Maidenhead says, Nick, imagine how overjoyed I was at receiving my first Christmas booking email on Tuesday.
What?
No. Oh, that's just ridiculous. How desperate are these people? Christmas bookings? He said it was from a certain restaurant in Bray, near Maidenhead. Oh, that's where the posh people live. The email was entitled, An Early Christmas Gift, and I was advised to book early tables as they will be going fast. I checked the menu and it's £375 per person. £375 per person? What do you get for that? He said this is a real bargain because last year it was £450 per person. So I'm sure people will be falling over themselves to get a table. You better get it booked straight away. Get your glamorous assistant on it right now. Oh, you'd have to be out of your mind. What are they talking about? I mean, okay, I sort of get it. I mean, a Rolls Royce is a very expensive thing because it has been tweezered into being by experts and lots of them. And you could say the same thing for the food at this establishment. I have a fairly good idea what you're talking about, although I think there's a couple that fit the bill near Bray. But really, it's just food, you know, and it all ends up in the same way the next day.
Disgusting.
Yeah, exactly. And you won't have anything to show for it. I mean, the amount of money that you would have to blow through, and of course that's not including wine, which I imagine isn't cheap in an establishment like that. Let's guess it starts at about £100 a bottle and goes rapidly northwards from there. So that's £750 plus £100 for the wine, £850 plus service charge. Well, you're looking at £1,000 for dinner. That's nuts. And to commit yourself this far ahead. How can anybody plan that far ahead for Christmas, for crying out loud? Because I would also imagine that they insist on taking your credit card when you book. Bet they do. There's so much of that. I mean, I sort of get it that restaurants are, they're running on tight margins. And if people don't show up, then it's going to, it'll affect them very badly. And people do tend to not show up. Like they'll block book 3 or 4 restaurants for an evening and then decide later which one they want to go to. And that's just not fair. But it's kind of annoying now having to put your credit card in, and if you don't cancel within a certain period, then they're going to stiff you for, well, whatever it is, depending on the kind of restaurant that you're going to. It could be £15 a head, or it could be £375 a head. I've got no idea. But who can commit themselves 6 months ahead of time? How can you possibly know when you're going to be hungry? When you're going to be available? I mean, the world might have ended before then. Give it till the autumn, at least, I'd say. This says, "Hi Nick, the Prime Minister has said that welfare reforms will help disabled people because the current system traps the disabled, with things like food and clothing, and taking away their money and their careers, or their carers, not careers, carers, will help them not be trapped. Thank you, Mr. No Care Starmer," says that texter. Yeah, there's a lot of that about. He was getting shouted at by a lot of people for doing things that are nasty, and then he decided to listen to what they were saying and agree with them and do precisely what they were yearning for him to do. And the moment he did that, he was being criticised by the very same people for doing a U-turn. You just can't win, can you, Skier? Will says, "Harry and Meghan have caused fury by drinking water and breathing oxygen. Also, their dogs had a litter of puppies." Really? Is there nothing that Meghan won't do to court publicity? Now she's had puppies. And Terry and Warwick says, "Nick, the word cynic derives from the Latin word for a dog." What does that mean? Did I ask for the definition of cynic? Or is he calling me a cynic? Or is he calling me a dog? 0345 6060 973. I have no idea what's going on, and this is my show. You can text 84850. Email nicka@lbc.co.uk. And if you're on WhatsApp, it's the same number as the phone. This says, "Have you seen what the has-been Rod Stewart..." Oh, the has-been. The has-been Rod Stewart has been saying about the awful little man Farage. No, I have not. And I object to Rod Stewart being called a has-been. But apart from that, you get a pass.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbot.
Is he crazy, or is that just the way he acts?
You're wondering
what it's all about, and I can't tell you because I don't know myself.
Alec in Brighton says, last week you were talking about kangaroos and how they lick their forearms to keep cool. I thought I'd try it and can testify as to its effectiveness. It also has the benefit of ensuring that nobody sits next to me on the train. Felicity says, ciao, Nick. Delightful news from Italy. Bad boss Bezos was forced to change his wedding venue within Venice due to the locals, the little people, coming together and protesting this event in no uncertain terms. One huge banner laid out in San Marco Square read, if you're rich enough to rent Venice for your weekend, pay more tax. Yeah. It's like kryptonite to people like that. Pay more tax? 0345 6060 973. Islington. Hello, James.
Hi, Nick. Good evening. How are you?
Good, thanks.
I wanted to speak to you about the government's welfare bill that they've put forward, specifically regarding PIP.
Okay.
One of the concessions is that all those currently receiving PIP will stay within the current system and it will only apply to new claimants.
Yes.
Which is quite interesting because that looks like a two-tier system for those who are on disabilities. Mm-hmm. That is quite something.
Well, it's the same kind of thing as pensions, really. I mean, one person who's 64 doesn't get a pension and one person who's 65 does. Got to draw the line somewhere.
Yeah, you make sense. The new proposals... Yeah. The new proposals are... They seem like a bit of a desperate attempt to get Labour rebels on board before the vote on Tuesday because Keir Starmer knows he was going to lose the vote.
Right. Well, it's not a desperate attempt. That's called politics.
That's right. Maybe a bit of smoke and mirrors, a sleight of hand.
No, not really. I think they're being very upfront about it. He's heard what people said. It's deeply unpopular, so he's changed his mind, and he was getting it in the neck when he made the decision in the first place, and now he's getting it in the neck for doing what people actually wanted him to do. So,
yeah. Do you think he'll win on Tuesday?
Win? Do I think it'll get passed on Tuesday? Yeah, probably.
Okay.
Oh, that's enough. That's enough for him. Okay. Glad to have helped. Yeah, the PM has handed major concessions to rebels in a bid to salvage legislation on health and disability benefits. More than 120 MPs have vowed to kill the plans, but after negotiations with backbenchers, a late-night deal was announced, including guarantees that existing claimants will not lose money. And the right-wing press are furious about it. I mean, they were furious that claimants were going to lose money, and now they're furious that they aren't going to lose money. Does any of this make sense?
No.
No. Doesn't have to. It's the usual flailing around by what I assume is just copy written by an AI program. It's all so repetitive.
Affirmative.
Taking money from benefit claimants, bad. Not taking money from benefit claimants, also bad. The move looks like it could be enough to prevent a disastrous defeat for the government at a second reading, although some critics are still vowing to oppose the measures. But the change on PIP, personal independence payment, is estimated to wipe up to £2 billion of the £5 billion saving by the end of the Parliament, and universal credit tweaks another £1 billion. That's not my English, that's whoever wrote this, I think it was in the Mail. Tweaks another £1 billion? What does that mean? Adds, I think. Rachel Reeves was already struggling to balance the books with the economy stalling and the previous U-turn on the winter fuel allowance. It's odd, isn't it, that right-wingers are all for cutting benefits until it's a Labour Party that's doing it, and then it's the worst and cruelest thing they can think of. And how will these benefits be paid for? The thing that offshore tax-averse media barons hate the most. Taxes. It's what better-run countries do. They take more from their citizens in tax and they provide more for them as safety nets for when life goes bad. As a result, happier people. It's not a coincidence that the same countries always top the happiness index. It's not because they're skipping about spontaneously laughing. It's because they feel more secure and safe. That's the nature of their happiness. We and America prefer the crossed fingers approach. We prefer to pay as little as possible in tax and then hope that life doesn't throw a stick in our spokes. Well, how's that going, by the way?
Oh, fabulous.
I mean, eventually we're all going over the handlebars. But we're conditioned to believe that we won't. That we won't need a helping hand. That's for losers and slackers, we think. Which is why places like Norway positively ooze contentment, and we are beset with the thought that all we've got could come crashing down at any time. But at least we'll get to keep an extra 1 or 2% of our wages in the meantime. What a way to run a country, eh?
Dreadful.
Yeah. And that's this PIP thing. Brits who currently receive the personal independence payment will continue to do so after the government's concessions to Labour rebels on welfare reforms. Skiers' Universal Credit and Personal Independence Payment Bill has its second reading on July the 1st. It's practically July the 1st already. Scary. And MPs will support or reject it at that moment. And the press was going through this, what's happened and this and that, and then they get to the important part for them. Does this mean more tax rises? The Resolution Foundation think tank has suggested that the changes could cost as much as, turns page, £3 billion. And they raise the prospect of further tax rises. So let's do the maths, shall we? This doesn't count as homework because I'm at work. I am not working from home.
Thank you.
I'm a good boy, I am. So if it's an extra £3 billion and there is 42 million working-age people in the land, that's an extra £71.42 per taxpayer per year. Show of hands. Now, just the people who were hyperventilating about the cuts to benefits, only you get to vote. Hands in the air, those of you who are not happy to pay an extra £71.41p per year to allow those most in need to keep their benefits. It's 19p per day. Keep your hands in the air. And that's what the papers were freaking out about today. That taxes will have to go up to fund the thing that they've been demanding for what seems like an age, an epoch. Going on and on and on about how mean Labour were being when Skier listens to their concerns. Now they're freaking out about the extra tax it's going to cost us 19p a day. You know, if the papers had saved all the ink they'd used in slamming the government about this, they could have paid for it 10 times over. I mean, I don't know that that's true, but even if it isn't, it doesn't prevent it from being a fact. 0345 6060 973. Let's have Fleet. Kirsty.
Oh, hello, Nick. I was just ringing up to ask you to stop mentioning Christmas, and it suddenly made me realise I was mentioning it again.
Yes. Guilty.
And your glamorous assistant was trying to blame you, even though the glamorous assistant is the one that puts the text and calls through.
Can you believe that? I've been fitted up.
It's a gorgeous, warm summer. Just don't think about what's coming.
Yes, exactly. How can anybody have it in mind that Christmas is just around the corner? I mean,
stop saying it. I mean, that's the thing. You keep mentioning it, and it's really discombobulating because I'm trying to be in the middle of summer.
I have it in mind whenever I say that. When I read the weather and, Jesus' birthday's just around the corner and all that malarkey, I do think, am I actually speeding up time by doing that? By which I mean the impression of time passing. Because if you keep talking about it, it'll be here any time now, and we'll have...
Exactly, but that's what you're doing.
We will have forgotten to enjoy the summer.
Yes, and it's lovely and warm. And can I just say hello to Thomas, who's going to be 101 next month?
101 next month. Gets the long version. Yeah, happy birthday, Thomas.
And please talk about the nice warm weather and nothing else.
Nothing about Jesus' birthday. No.
All the horrible things that are going on in the world.
You want me to talk about all of the horrible things that are going on in the world?
No, don't.
I'm sorry, but I have to take your first answer. You want me to talk about all of the horrible things that are going on in the world? Right, okay. All right, thanks a lot, Kirsty. Just giving me instructions now. Like I'm her whipping boy. Thank you, sir. May I have another? Felicity says... No, read that one. Tony says... Please, it's hot because it's summer, for crying out loud. Oh, no, another one of these unbelievers.
Oh, no.
Yeah, no, there's no such thing as climate change because, I don't know, whatever Richard Tice said last. Because in the winter, around Jesus' birthday, I've said it again. Damn it! Around Jesus' birthday, it's very, very cold. Therefore, global warming doesn't exist. Or some old nonsense like that. The thing about global warming is it doesn't matter whether you believe it or not. It doesn't matter whether you're pretending not to believe it or not in order to get the gullible on side and to vote for you. It doesn't matter whether you're pretending to believe in that climate change doesn't exist in order to get low IQ individuals to vote for you because they don't want to have to even contemplate changing their lives. It makes no difference whether you believe it or not. It's going to happen to you anyway. And it's going to happen in small measures as well. Small measures that will have a big impact on your life. Because you know who does believe in climate change? Insurance companies. Insurance companies believe in climate change because they're paying out billions and billions and billions of dollars in order to rectify the damage that has been created by climate change. They know it exists. And their decisions are going to affect your lives. Whether you believe in it or not. Don't make no, never mind. You can sit there ordering the waves not to subsume you, but they're going to anyway. Because insurance companies will shortly stop insuring people's houses because they're in danger of being flooded, or there's subsidence because the ground's too dry, or you name it. They're thinking about it. I mean, those people whose houses burned in Los Angeles, a lot of those people had their insurance canned by their companies just months before those fires, for the very reason that they wanted to buy insurance in the first place, because of fires. And there just was so many of them lately because it's been so dry. You know, they've had an arid period there, an unusually arid period, even for LA. And they thought, well, to hell with this. We're paying out and paying out and paying out. We can see what's happening. The climate has changed, and so we're not going to insure your house anymore. And, you know, if you're a millionaire, then that's not such a big deal because you aren't going to ask for a mortgage. But you can't get a mortgage if you can't get insurance. And if you can't get a mortgage, and that means that you don't get your house. So it's going to affect you anyway. It's the same with businesses. They're not going to be able to get insurance either. And all of those insurance companies that make the world go round, essentially, without insurance, we ain't got nothing. We're all just standing on a rope with like a parasol in one hand and nothing in the other. What are tightrope walkers where they've got a parasol? I guess with the other hand they're just waving it around, trying to keep on the rope. Yeah, well, that's us. That's all of us now. Doesn't matter whether you believe in it or not, it's going to affect you anyway.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Yes, hello. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
Yes, Fred in Richmond. I've been waiting for you. Hello.
Oh, hello. Nick, I just want to correct you about your PIPS analysis and cross-check with the pensions.
Yes.
You said that, pensions got a cut-off point, and before a certain age, you don't get pension. After a certain age, you do.
Yes.
Now, PIPS are not like that. PIPS, at this point, a person suffers a certain disability, and they're entitled to PIPS. They get it.
Yeah, but there are lines everywhere. There are
yes.
There some people that are very, very similar will get the required number of points to get PIP, and some people who are just slightly different won't.
Yeah, but this is the point. Whoever is entitled to it now is getting it. After this law is passed, they will continue to get it.
Right.
Those who are not quite there in terms of disability, but develop the disability further so they would have been entitled to PIPS, will no longer be able to claim it. So, in effect, you will have people who have got the same disability.
Yeah.
One will have PIPS and the other won't.
Right.
That's the problem.
Lines everywhere. Well, the problem is the problem is the reason that we're even talking about this in the first place. The problem is that it's costing something like, I can't remember exactly what it is, but it's about 35 billion pounds a year, which is due to, I think, almost double within 10 years, something like that. So it depends on how much tax you want to pay, Fred.
Well, it also depends on how much tax you want to claim from the wealthy. For instance, the 40-odd billion that they're not paying, never mind those who are evading. They've got to collect taxes.
Well, yes, it's taxes. That's
they've got to collect them, though.
I know. If we want to live in a happy, well-ordered society, then you've got to pay your taxes. But the problem is that people don't want to do that because they think that first of all, that tax is theft for a start, and they don't put what they get for it next to the actual amount that they pay. Now, things aren't working particularly well in this country, and I suggest that most of that, if not all of the reason for that, is the 14 years of the Tories disassembling this country into its constituent molecules. Yeah. So that's going to take a while to put back to the point that you can rely on the health service, for instance. I've lost my train of thought because I'm thinking about what I'm talking to you, but I'm also reading the texts that are just put up in front of me. My brain can only cope with one subject at a time.
Correct, 1 point at a time.
So what were we saying?
You were saying about, just like in nature, there is no other way.
Yes.
They have to collect taxes.
Right. Yes, they do.
And the biggest bind they have, I feel, is they came into this government, and I am an ex-Labour voter, and I should never vote for them again. They came into this government promising not to raise taxes. It's the most ridiculous thing to say.
No, they didn't. They promised not to raise 3 taxes. I think it was, the 3 main taxes that people pay.
Yes.
All right. Well, that's what people wanted to hear. People wanted to hear that because they don't like the idea of paying taxes at all. And they particularly, oddly, don't like the idea of rich people paying taxes. They don't like the idea of going after the super rich and asking them to pay what a reasonable person in the street might think of as their fair share. And I suspect that that's because people imagine that in the future they will become super rich. They can't cope with the idea that this is it for them, that this is their life, that if you weren't born rich, it's vanishingly unlikely you are ever going to become rich. So the level that you're at now is pretty much where you're always going to be for most people. But that's a disturbing thing to think. And they don't like to think that, so we convince ourselves that we're going to become one of those super rich people. All we need is a lucky break. And that's partly why
I'm exactly opposite.
And
exactly opposite.
And that's partly.
If I was earning £100 million,
and that's partly why. Sorry, mate. I'm just going to get this out. That is partly why people don't like the idea of taxing the rich, and they will call me, and I know that they will, and say that just the very idea is the politics of envy.
Well, let me just point one other thing to you. Somebody was saying something about some Norwegian who's going to leave the country because he's now has been removed from non-dom status and he's going to have to pay tax.
Yeah.
Well, what's the big loss on that? Because if he was a non-dom status, he was only paying about £30,000 a year tax. Who cares?
Yeah, well,
he should have been paid millions.
Right, they seem to care. I mean, it seems that the more money you have, the more obsessed you are with getting more of it.
Yeah, let them go.
I entirely agree. Let them go.
Yep.
They just make everything more expensive for those of us who are patriotically living here, from housing all the way down. Try and get into a nice restaurant for this Christmas that's charging you only £375 a plate. And I bet you can't get in. I bet it's totally booked up already. Thanks a lot, Fred. 0345 6060 973. Yeah, Oxfam looked into this. The wealth of the world's 3,000 billionaires has surged by $6.5 trillion in real terms over the past decade. 6.5 trillion, which is a number so big I don't even know what it is. So 3,000 of the planet's richest people managed to take 14.6 of all the wealth created on Earth in the last 10 years. 14.6% of the money that's created by all of the people on Earth has gone to the 0.00003% of the world's population. Yeah, that sounds fair. In total, the richest 1% of the global population has gained at least $33.9 trillion in real terms, the charity Oxfam said, which is enough to end global poverty 22 times over. Hands up, you billionaires who want to end global poverty forever. Keep them up while I count. No one. Apart from Elon Musk, and I don't think he was throwing his hand up to be counted.
Oh, no.
Another one of those. Stop doing that, Elon. We might start to think it's not the drugs talking. Just say no, kids. In fact, just say no thank you. I mean, good manners don't cost nothing, do they?
Be polite!
In the UK, the number of billionaires has grown sharply from 15 in 1990 to 165 in 2024, despite all of those shrieking stories about them leaving. 15 in 1990, 165 in 2024. The Equality Trust charity found their average wealth rose by more than 1,000% over the same period. Hey, did your wealth rise by 1,000% since 1990? I'll just go ahead and assume that the answer is no. They said billionaires pay effective tax rates close to 0.3% of their wealth, well below what average workers contribute. Yeah, that's because average workers don't have wealth. They pay tax on their earnings. And yet the people keep trying to convince us that somehow we're going to miss them when they're gone. And they constantly threaten to leave every time somebody suggests that they should pay tax. I mean, they have the usual suspects trot out the same lame excuse that, they pay a lot of income tax. When everyone, especially the people who peddle this lie, know full well that the super rich don't get rich and stay rich because of their income. It's the increase in the value of their assets, not their wages. And that assets class includes housing, of course. You know, it's not the damp and the desperate showing up in boats that are raising the cost of living in this country. It's the landowners putting up the rents and putting up the prices in the shops they own through their share portfolio. And for those unpatriotic types who do say that they'll leave after having used this country's proper taxpayers who have made it possible for them to make and keep their fortunes, well, you know, how can it be that Americans who flee to tax havens still have to pay on all their earnings to America, whether they live in America or not, and somehow we can't do that? How's that? And these fake patriots then set up in some sort of boring hellhole, some monoculture where only the rich live, and they pen letters to the British press, assuming they don't own the British press and dictate what it writes, and they tell us how mean we're being for asking them to contribute back something for the money that the ordinary taxpayer has spent to make their fortune possible. Because I can't think of a rich person who has not used the things that an ordinary taxpayer buys. I mean, even if they didn't use the NHS, their workers did. I mean, without the workers, the best business brains on earth would have nothing. And they wouldn't have been able to make a fortune without the roads, which we ordinary taxpayers pay for, and the streetlights and the rule of law, which we pay for by funding the police, and the fire engines that are there to put out their factories or offices if they catch light, or the military that keeps us safe, or any of the things that come with an ordered society, without which these 0.00003% of the world's richest population would have nothing. And they take advantage of all that and then scarper off to throw bricks at us over a wall of money they've built. But, of course, you know, that is the politics of envy, that is. As anyone that's gullible enough to be taken in by that argument would tell you. I mean, mostly they're people with nothing who are easily persuaded that. And they'll call up people like me on the phone and express that thought, politics of envy, at top volume, as though I'm trying to take something from them. And it's true. I think that they imagine that in time they too will become billionaires. And they're planning not to want to pay their taxes when they get there. But it's not going to happen. There was a study by a leading French economist called Gabriel Zucman that found it could a 2% tax on the 3,000 super richest people on the planet could make 250 billion in extra revenue. And it wouldn't affect the world's richest people at all. Not one bit. I mean, if you're a billionaire, that means you're worth at least £1,000 million. £1 million times 1,000. I mean, any idea that they might be asset rich and cash poor is for the birds. They're swimming in money. And 2%, if we tax them 2% on their assets, 2% of 1 billion is 10 million. So take 2% from £1,000 million and you're left with £990 million. Hey, billionaires, do you think you could get by on that?
No.
No, they really don't. They get ever richer and have to hire ever more security and live behind bulletproof glass in a prison for those who have more money than they could ever spend, while the rest of us get ever poorer. And I don't think that's how capitalism is supposed to work. I mean, it's not how it used to work just a few decades ago, when the wealth created was spread more evenly. And as for tax havens, well, if you want to live in one, then pay the taxes in that jurisdiction on the money you make there. But if you make your money here, or in France, or in Germany, or anywhere else that's a real country and not just a bank with a golf course attached, then you pay all of the tax due in that country. Problem solved. You're welcome.
Thank you.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott.
You're joking.
0345 6060 973. Cornwall, Malcolm.
Oh, hello, Nick.
Yes, sir.
Hey, would you allow me to take you back a few months? And you were predicting a family succession, I think is the word, isn't it?
Oh, you mean Trump will hand the crown down when he is so mentally enfeebled that even his MAGA fans can't stand it anymore.
Who dies?
He'll hand the crown down to Lurch.
Well, now look, who are the other two sons? What are their names?
Uday and Kusei. Yeah.
Uday and Kusei.
The two. Even Trump wouldn't give the crown to his two idiot sons. No, they give it to the one who has a certain darkness about him.
You tell me which is which. Which one is Uday and which one is Kusei?
It doesn't really matter. It's got.
But it does.
It doesn't.
You know, because this is big news for you, my friend.
Yes.
Because from tomorrow night, you're going to be referencing one of them as the next president of the United States. Now, which is which? Go on.
I've got no idea. What do you mean? Why? What's happening?
Did you even know the names of Trump's two eldest sons? You don't do.
Uday and Kusei.
I mean, that's their pet names.
Bill and Ben. I have no idea.
Eric and Donald Jr., right?
Eric.
So which is which? Which? I'm asking you now to allocate those labels.
Yes.
To the two.
But why are you asking me though? What's happening tomorrow?
Well, I'll explain it. What are you calling Eric, the oldest son?
Eric's the one who looks like Beavis, and the other one looks like Butthead. That's actually true.
Right, so which is Eric? Is he Uday or is he Kusei?
I can't recall, but one of them looks like Beavis and the other one looks like Butthead. Yeah.
Enough of this. But Eric has proclaimed about an hour and a half ago now that I can do it. Yeah, I can do this. So Eric is putting his name out there as the successor.
In what capacity did he say that? What was he doing at the time?
He's up for being the next president of the United States. I can do it again.
Yeah, but when did he say that, and what was the circumstance?
About an hour and a half ago, when he was asked about your big thing, succession, right?
Right.
And he has said, yeah, I'm going to do it.
No, there's absolutely no way that Lurch is going to allow anybody else to take that crown away from him because he looks like an all grown up Damien to me.
Well, I've got more news for you, and you're not going to like this. Mm-hmm. But Lurch has said, I'm not doing it. Lurch has made it clear to friends
bet he is.
that he is not.
Oh, well, if a member of the Trump family said it, then it must be true.
He has said he has no intention of following his father into politics.
Right.
So you've got to go with either Uday or Say.
I'm going with Lurch. I bet you that Lurch is the one that takes over, because his two idiot sons will be... even Donald knows that they wouldn't be able to cope with it, and it would disgrace the family name. I almost said that without laughing.
You make me laugh when you say that. No, look, serious business now. Keir Starmer thinks that his problems are all over because his numbers man has told him that the concessions he's making to the rebels is enough, right? But I'm predicting here now at what's the time? 11:37. I'm predicting
11:37. Yes.
Tonight, Saturday night, that Keir Starmer has got way bigger troubles ahead than he thought he had before he came to an agreement with his rebels. And let me tell you why.
Why?
Because he is, it's been said a lot, but I'm going to state it in no uncertain terms, he is truly creating a two-tier benefits system.
Right.
And that means that the Labour Party are going to make the Conservatives look like saints. Because Starmer is saying, look, I am going to agree that the people on these benefits are going to keep getting it.
Right.
So I am saying, from here on, no more. There will be no more.
It's not no more. It's just that the rules will change, and you could read. Well, hang on a minute. But you could read it in two different ways. You could read it as the rules are going to change for the better, and people who would have been, condemned to a life of just sitting at home staring at four walls are going to be helped into work. You could read it like that, or you could read it like, this is the most evil thing that anybody has ever considered, and he's a monster. So the truth probably lies somewhere, not in the middle, but, not one extreme or the other.
I think that if Starmer does this, and he says, look, we're going to stop what we've planned, and we're going to let the people on these benefits now stay as they are, but we're going to introduce these bodies. I guarantee you now that Keir Starmer's days are numbered, because an awful lot of these people they've been raising their heads above the parapets all week. Well, the latter part of this.
But you're assuming the worst. I mean, it might be a better system. It might be a system that's both better for the people involved and better for the taxpayers who would not be able to afford it if it continues in this way. £70 billion a year is unaffordable.
No, but you're going big statement. It may be better for the people who are involved.
Yeah.
No, Nick, if the people involved are disabled, but they can't prove they're quite disabled enough to get the benefit, then they're not getting the benefit.
Yeah, but you're assuming. No, listen to me. You are assuming that the worst would happen. That people who are perfectly suitable for these benefits would not get them. But perhaps the people who aren't suitable for these benefits are still going to get them because Keir Starmer has climbed down because of this massive row that's built up around this signature piece of policy. But he's just going to give them a pass. I mean, you're assuming the worst.
Yeah, but you're ignoring the obvious, and the obvious is that he wants this benefit to stop, but he can't stop this benefit because 100 and odd members of his Labour Party have said we will not back this part.
Yeah, but again, you're being too extreme. He doesn't want it to stop. He wants it to be changed. He wants what?
he wants it stopped for X number of people, but he's been stopped from stopping it.
Yes, precisely.
And look, you missed the point. If he could have got away with it, he would not have backed down. He has backed down, and I am predicting here Saturday night that I think Keir Starmer's days, if he says we are going to have a two-tier system, future people will not get this. I am guaranteeing you. I am not only predicting, I am guaranteeing that Keir Starmer will not be representing Labour after the next election. I hope the Labour people are listening to this, because I've not been wrong on much so far in my conversations.
Are you marking your own homework, Malcolm?
Yeah.
Yeah, I think you are.
I am spot on today.
You get a D+ from me. How's that sound?
Okay.
All right. Okay. Thanks. Another satisfied customer. D+. Must do better. Dan says, heat rises, Nick, higher up the building, hotter in single-aspect flats. I have a dual-aspect flat and an AC unit. I think of it as compensation for having to live in Croydon. Is that enough compensation to live in Croydon? A dual-aspect flat and an AC unit? And I'm not sure about that. Heat rises are higher up a building. It's hotter in... it is hotter in single-aspect flats, no doubt about that. But the higher up you go, surely the windier it gets. And the cooler the air gets. So I'm not sure that it necessarily gets hotter the higher up a building you go. I mean, it gets hotter the higher up a house you go, because it's open to the ground floor is open to the upper floor. The heat just rises up the stairway. But you mostly don't have stairways inside flats. This says, Nick, I'm a resident of Spain. The past 20 years, I laugh at all tourists and friends who come to visit. The more you use air conditioning, the more you will need it. In cold, out in cold. In cold, out in cold. Out, your body can't cope. If you stay away from air conditioning from 2 days, your body will condition itself. Fact. Well, some of that made sense, and I sort of understand what you're saying. I hate air conditioning. It's just that cold draft. It just does my... I just can't stand it. And there's just something bad about the quality of the air as well. But, if you are in a single-aspect flat and it is 90 degrees outside, then it would probably be beneficial if you had air conditioning, no doubt about it. 0345 6060 973. And this text says, average normal body temperature is actually 98.6 Fahrenheit, which is 37 degrees centigrade. Well, why is it then that if the temperature outside gets that hot, then you are in danger of dying? Don't you find that weird? Somebody should look into that very strongly and with great strength.
Leading Britain's conversation. Nick Abbot. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
And I can't stand him.
0345 6060 973. Paddy in Cheltenham says, wasn't Shady Vance the same guy that criticised Europe for a lack of free speech? Yes, the very same. Every single criticism is an admission of guilt from Donald Trump and his chaotic regime. Paddy says that most administrations focus on national security, but this administration focuses on national insecurity. So it's sort of ironic that his meme has managed to unify far more Americans than their own government has. I'll leave that with you, says Paddy.
Thank you.
Thank you for leaving, Paddy. Appreciate it. Angus says, 2 of my 4 sisters live in and pay tax in Cyprus. They once received winter fuel allowances. They'd welcome Judy's summer cooling allowance. I'm in Glasgow and I've never had a need to cool down, says Angus. Well, that is the benefit. Bath. Hello, Laura.
Hi, Nick. How are you doing?
I am great, mate.
Me too. I'm buzzing. I know you didn't ask, but
You're buzzing?
Anyway. I'm absolutely buzzing. I'm having a great day.
You're buzzing. Yeah.
I wanted to give you some good news. You can talk about Jesus' birthday, because scholars don't actually think he was born in December.
No. It's an old pagan festival. It's the shortest day. That's why it's there.
Well, they think he was born between 6 to 4 BC. So you can talk about it all year round as far as I'm concerned.
You think Jesus was born before Jesus was born?
No, I'm reading it on Wikipedia.
Oh, well, if it's on the internet, you should have said.
It's around 6 to 4 BC.
Right.
But then doesn't BC mean before Christ?
Yeah, I believe it does, yeah. I mean, I'm no religious expert, but I'm not sure that anyone can be born several years before they're born.
I don't know if we should be talking about this. I think we've stumbled on something.
You've uncovered something huge, Laura.
Yeah, well, we did it together. That's the main thing.
Yeah. And before anybody writes in and says, you stupid moron, that's not the shortest day, the 25th of December. I know that, but it's there or thereabouts. That's why the pagan festival was around there. It was, it's a celebration of the rising of the sun. Yeah, that's why we celebrate Christmas, when it's blooming freezing outside. But, it's a nice time to, deck the halls, isn't it? Bring a bit of colour into your life.
Sure. Have you been on the fish Have you been on the fish doorbell website yet, Nick?
I've been on the what now? Oh, the fish doorbell. Yeah, no, I did read about that a little while ago. Yeah, is that still a thing?
Yeah, but I've been here for ages and there hasn't been one fish. It's kind of bumming me out. I just want to open the door for one fish.
It looks like the most boring website in history. If you've got no idea what it is, where is it? Is it in Norway or Iceland?
It's in Netherlands.
Netherlands.
At the moment, it says you are watching the live stream with 519 others, and I just think, where have our lives gone wrong? You know.
Yeah. You should have dropped breadcrumbs behind you to find your way back to some level of meaning in your life. Yeah, some sanity. The fish doorbell thing is it salmon, or is it some other kind of fish?
I think they accept fishes of any species.
Yeah,
they're not specific to.
They're not racist fish-wise. Yeah, if a fish wants to get past a lock or something like that, then it has to. I don't think the fish actually ring a doorbell, do they? I think it's an imaginary doorbell.
Losers like me watch, and then if one comes by, you press the doorbell and it opens it for them. Yeah. But on the topic of going outside and living life, and
enjoying yourself, yes.
Do you have nasturtium in your garden?
I don't know what that is.
Well, I thought you liked flowers. It's a flower.
Yeah, I like them. I don't know anything about them. I wouldn't be able to identify one by sight.
Okay, well, they're like the nasturtium. They're ones that you would plant. Like you'd go to sorry, I shouldn't mention brand. You go to a shop where they sell.
What,
flowers.
like B&Q? N-A-S-T nast. Oh no, I'm running. Well, what's shun? S-I-O-N.
S-H-E-O-N.
S-H-E-O-N.
Sorry. No, it's N-A-S-T-U-R-T-I-U-M.
T-I-U-M.
This is great radio, isn't it?
Oh, little flowers. Oh, isn't that cute?
Well,
no, I haven't got any of those. Well, those are the things that the pubs have hanging in baskets outside their windows, don't they?
Well, I mean, if they're free for the picking, I was going to say you can make an absolutely banging pesto with it. I had it on some soup tonight.
No, not for eating.
Well, what do you think pesto's made? Do you like pesto?
Yeah, basil.
Yeah, but basil's just another plant. I mean,
nonsense.
I'm talking about...
You buy it in a bag from Tesco's. What are you talking about? Plant.
Well, you just said, okay, well, you can either buy basil or you can go to your local pub, pick a couple of nasturtium from the hang basket for free.
Yeah.
Grab a couple bevs, head home, and make the best pesto of your life.
Out of flowers?
No, the leaves on the flowers. The leaf part.
Right, well, you should have said that. I don't know. It doesn't sound. It doesn't sound advisable or legal to me.
The thing I wanted to end on in closing is I actually might believe astrology now because I'm reading the horoscope for your horoscope actually, and it says today. The world is your stage and you're the star. Even if you're not getting enough attention, know it's just a moment in time. And this weekend is Glastonbury, so you must have had a dent in the number of people listening. So I'm like, how did it know that?
Whatever you read that in, throw it away. Do it right now.
You've got goosebumps, haven't you?
Yeah, no, not really, no. And if I do, it's only the air conditioning in this studio. You can't turn it off.
If you're not getting enough attention, it's just a moment in time. Right. Don't forget.
Okay. I'll keep that in mind. I'll forget it as soon as we finish talking. Thanks a lot, Laura. Appreciate it. 0345 6060 973. Oldbury, Ranjit.
Hi, Nick. You okay?
Yes, good, thanks.
Yeah, you know that lady caller you've just had about the horoscopes and that, yeah?
Yeah.
And now I'm not going to on this, but I've got a friend. He went to Blackpool, right, to a fortune teller, right? And I'm not going to condone this, and I don't agree with it. And he went and slapped him one. And he says, well, how can you tell my fortune if you don't know that he was going to get a slap? It's stupid. He's stupid.
These are the jokes, folks.
No, it's not. No, he actually done it. He's an idiot.
And then,
this was about 40 years ago.
Oh, 40, okay. It's,
yeah, he's an idiot. And, somebody who we knew, and we got no...
in France, years and years ago, I read this only once, so I'm assuming that I got this right. But in France, a scientist took the national census, took people's birthdays, their star signs, and then plotted them on a graph as to what their careers ended up being. And they found with statistical significance that nurses peaked in a certain star sign, and they went through a lot of common careers and found that quite a lot of them did. And they did DJs. And DJs peaked in Leo. And that's me.
Okay. Obviously...
you just dismissed that.
No, I haven't.
You did. You just took that and threw it away.
You're not a DJ. You're a radio presenter.
Well, I used to be a DJ.
And you're teaching. I mean, your glamorous assistant is learning loads off you now. Right? With a name like Ranjit, right? I'm obviously from. My parents are from India, right? Yeah. And the oldest religion in the world was Hinduism. That's where it all started from. And
I don't think you can say that. I think that before that, people would worship the moon, and they'd worship the sun, and, they'd worship cats.
Okay. And what it was, basically, they've got a god for every day of the year, right?
Do they?
So today, they have, yeah. So there's 360-something. And what it was, for the preachers, yeah, that was a day. Listen, they come to knock on your door. Nick, today is such and such a day. Can you give some offering to the gods? Yeah?
Every day?
Every day, right. So that's what they did, right? And the mythology all started from there, right? So, my parents and my grandparents were really heavily into this, that you can't do this on a Tuesday, you can't do that. I said, listen, every day is equal, right?
Yes, now, every day's like Sunday, round where I live.
Right, so a lot of the Sikh boys that I know, some of them don't drink on a Sunday or eat meat. You know what? I said, to me, every day is equal, and I'm going to do what I want every day. So these were a meal ticket for people who had a bit more knowledge than the next person, yeah? And they says, listen, if it's a full moon, you're not supposed to do this. You've got to go to Ranjit's house and drop a bottle of whiskey there for him, right?
Well, that sounds like a good deal.
If you've got a bit of knowledge, you can lead everybody to it, and that's what Donald Trump's doing with everybody now, right? Now, I was talking to your glamorous assistant. From the time when the days of the Raj, the sun never set on the British Raj, and today we can't make an aeroplane to defend ourselves, right? And he's been jumping up and down.
In this country, we can't make an aeroplane to defend ourselves. That's what you're saying. Well, we're buying a big one of those invisible planes from America. How we'll know when they get here, I've got no idea.
We're buying 12 of them, yeah? Right? And I said to you, this is a few months ago, I said, he's telling people you've got to spend more money on your defence. Yeah? And I asked you, where are we going to buy our weapons from?
America. Yeah.
There you are. So
I bet that's part of our huge and tremendous trade deal, that he insists that because he's insisting on all sorts of other things as well, which I might get into. We've got to pay more for our drugs. He wants to insert himself into the assisted dying bill. He's screwing up our car production industry, which is pretty much the only thing that we make on any kind of scale anymore in this land.
And he's selling T-shirts now, right, for $35 with Daddy written on there.
That's right.
Right? I mean, how foolish. What it is.
It's amazing how stupid are people, and there seems to be a never-ending well of stupidity that people draw from.
There's one born every day.
Yeah, every second of every day. That's right, and a particular god to go with them.
Yeah, that's it. So send me a bottle of whiskey, okay?
I'll do that straight away, Ranjit. I want you to watch for it at your door. 0345 6060 973. Friday, Saturday, Sunday night at 10. Nick Abbott, LBC.
On your radio, on the LBC app, and
Play LBC.
leading Britain's conversation. This is LBC. This is LBC from Global, leading Britain's conversation with Nick Abbott.
I'd be trying to be funny because I'm all out of laugh.
Oh, hello.
Well, that's a bit of deja vu. Jim Mackey, the chief executive of the NHS, the big boss, the numero uno, the big cheese, he said that the NHS treats its patients as an inconvenience. And I've said that exact word many, many times on this programme. And in comparison to private healthcare, if you go to private healthcare, then they treat you as a customer. They treat you as practically the most important person in the world that they've ever seen. But the NHS treats you as an inconvenience. It's like, oh, God, all these sick people. Why can't they just leave us alone? But, it's not the Labour Party's fault. It's 14 years of the disassembling it from the, the last lot. That clown show, Bodge?
I can't comment on that.
So I'll get into that in a minute, because we're giving over so much of the control of this country to Donald Trump, which is exactly what I believe that certain individuals wanted when they dragged us out of the European Union. It wasn't to take back control, it was to give control to Donald Trump and the psycho tech bros who are the money behind it. But I'll get into that in a minute. I also want to talk about an alarm. There is a big alarm coming. Have you heard? Tom in Bath says, I just wanted to say I retired today after 42 years of teaching, and my students got me a really touching card. A card? After 42 years, you got a card? He says, I'm going to miss them, but I'm really looking forward to finally relaxing. I wouldn't miss them. Doesn't sound like they're going to miss you either. A card? Not even an apple. Can you believe that? Jill in Farnborough says, hi Nick, if you think that London is going to be hot, Paris is likely to reach 40 degrees centigrade on Tuesday. So I reckon there'll be a lot of exploding French people if Judy's analysis is correct. Yeah, that was earlier on in the show. Oh, by the way, this show gets stuck up the internet as a podcast. Oh, I think you'll be delighted. It's on Global Player or the new LBC app, and it's only on those two things. And both of them are free. And the thing to ask for is Nick Abbott of The Whole Show podcast. And the idea is that we take most of the news and the ads out. Mostly. Which means it's quicker to listen to, which will give you more time to contemplate French people exploding. Wigan. Hello, Margaret.
Hello, Nick. How are you?
I'm great, mate.
Yeah. The lady you spoke to earlier on, Laura, I think, she was saying about how everybody's going to Glastonbury.
Yeah.
Well, unfortunately, my neighbour's young daughter and her 3 friends went down yesterday, and when they got there, the tickets were forged.
Oh, no.
And they went all that way, and they got the tickets on some Facebook site, which is a bit silly, really, isn't it? But anyway, all that £400 each they paid.
Oh, is that the face value for a ticket, or were they...
No, I think my husband was looking it up, and he said they were going for $350. So obviously they thought, well, it's dearer, but if they couldn't get one, it must be so tempting when you really want to go somewhere.
Oh, absolutely, yeah. Well, that's terrible. So when
she's had to have a day off work. Well, we've all had to have a day off work. But booked overnight in an Airbnb and went down, and then they've had just come home. It's awful, isn't it?
That is very sad.
It is, isn't it?
So
I just feel as though these people, they want shooting.
Well, let's not get carried away, Margaret, but something should be done to them very, very strictly. Yeah. Well, she could always put the TV at the far end of the garden, and like behind a bush, and she could queue for the loo for an hour and recreate the experience.
Yeah. That's good. Or we're quite near Haydock Park Racecourse, and Tom Jones is on in a couple of weeks.
Is he?
So she could go and stand outside there and just pretend she was listening to some special person, couldn't she? Oh, he is a special person.
Well, yeah, he is a special person. Yeah, take some pants to throw at him because he loves that. I'm guessing he doesn't, but people do that for Tom Jones. It's just his thing. Yeah. Well, thanks for the sad news there, Margaret.
Oh no, it's a shame. Yeah. It's just a warning to people. I just thought, be careful when you're buying tickets. You don't know what you're doing.
That's right. Yeah.
Yeah.
Okay. Cheers, my dear. Ta-da. 0345 6060 973. This text says there was a vote several years ago to ban Glastonbury flags or not, and the people voted to keep them. Well, the masses are asses. They're just annoying. They just get in the way. I mean, even with the with all that quality camera work that they've got over there, they still can't film around them. It's impossible because the camera's up on where the sound deck is, which is that big thing in the middle of the field. And the flags are so high. I mean, it would be all right if they were only like 6 foot, and then the only people that wouldn't be able to see would be the people behind the morons carrying the flags. But when they're on these giant poles, and I just don't get that. Just in order for you to get your flag on television, to get some sort of reflected fame, you would be prepared to stand there and hold the thing for hour upon hour upon hour and make sure that you get in the same spot every day in front of the pyramid stage, just so you can get on TV. Oh, look, that's my flag. It's kind of pathetic, really. But, people go there and they won't see anything. They are not directly with their eyeballs. They'll be looking at a wobbly image of it on a 3-inch screen as they hold their phone in the air. And they're doing that to get fame as well. I'll put it up on the internet. Oh, look, somebody's liked it. I swear, the kids today, what a disappointment. John says, seems that the orange baby is throwing his toys out of the pram with Canada now as well, Nick. What fun. Yeah. Anybody that doesn't crawl across the carpet and kiss his feet, kiss my ass. That's presidential language. Anybody that doesn't do that he will use America as a weapon against them, which does fairly conclusively indicate that there is a person that should not be given any power, let alone the ultimate power. Some toothless yeehaws made that man the world's most powerful human. Those people. We just want President Trump. Those people. And now he's picking a fight with Canada. And I like the way that Canada is standing up to him. I mean, the new guy that they've got in, he used to be a banker in this country. No! Yes, I know, we didn't like him then. But we like him a lot now. And Governor of California, Gavin Newsom, is scoring maximum points at the moment. He is doing all of the right things. Telling Donald Trump to come on and arrest me. Let's get it over with. Tough guy. He said that. And now he's suing the Trump administration. Who's he suing? I think it's the Trump administration for $787 million. Oh, no, I think it's Fox, isn't it? Fox News. He's suing them for the same amount that they had to pay out for lying about the validity of the voting machines. You know, because they kept going on and on and on about, the voting machines were fixed, and that's why the president, Donald Trump, was unable to win that second term. You had to sit one out and then come back afterwards. And they, I think they had to pay out $787 million. $787 million. And as an aide memoire, that's what Governor of California is suing them for saying that he was a liar, for saying that he hadn't spoken to Donald Trump when Donald Trump said that they had spoken on the phone. I mean, remarkable, really, that anybody could put stand their reputation on the truth of Donald Trump's announcements. Amazing. Matt in High Wycombe says, I have just received the government response to Judy's request for a summer cooling allowance. It reads as follows. Oh, sounds like a joke incoming.
Oh, no.
Is this a listener with material? It says, the money you are not spending on heating in the summer, you can spend on cooling. And the money you are not spending on cooling in the winter, you can spend on heating. Ergo, we don't have to give you any allowances at all now, says Matt, who's thought long and hard about that. Andy in Liverpool says, hi, Nick, referring to last week, Laura was spot on. Dire Straits are easily one of the best rock bands, and Mark Knopfler one of the best guitarists in the world. Educate yourself, kid. I will not educate myself, Andy. I refuse to be educated. I think they're all right. Not top tier for me. Alex in Greenwich says, I agree with you about Glastonbury. There's never a tune you can whistle to, is there? You can't hear the words and it just sounds like a load of old pots and pans. A load of old pots and pans to me. Bring back the oldies, I say. Kids never learn, says Alex in Greenwich. Well, I never said any of that. I mean, I'm not really interested in any of the bands at Glastonbury because they're not really aimed at me. Neil Young would have been, but apparently he's nixed the idea of them showing his set, which I think is unreasonable of Neil Young. But, you know, he's a grumpy old geezer, and he usually gets his way. But I didn't ever say that it just sounds like a load of old pots and pans. And as for bringing back the oldies, well, there's Rod, isn't there? Although, you know, having seen him relatively recently in Hyde Park, it was a bit too much Las Vegas for me. I mean, Ronnie Wood, out of the Stones, did come on for that one number, the really great one, Stay With Me.
Rock and roll!
And that was great, but then he swanned off again immediately afterwards. And then we were back with, the crooning. Not my thing, really. Patricia in Edinburgh, or just Tricia, is what she goes by. Now she's on the run. Tricia says, in my book, Bowie could do no wrong, but I just don't get Neil Young. I find his voice whiny, and all he has ever done of interest was have this row thing with Lynyrd Skynyrd. What am I missing about Neil Young? Well, plenty, Tricia. The lyrics for a start, the tunes for a second, his guitar playing is epic. I mean, it's really messy, it's not precise. And as for the voice, well, I give you Bob Dylan. Answer me that one. I mean, there's been loads of people with what you would describe as difficult voices who've made a career in rock and roll. You don't have to be able to sing proper. Not everyone has to be, Diana Ross. Or, who's the equivalent of Diana Ross? Who's got a really, really pure voice in a male rock star? Don't know. They're not really my favourites. I like the rough voice ones, like Rod Stewart in his heyday. Yeah, him. I like Michael Chapman out of Chapman Whitney Streetwalkers. Family used to be in. Burlesque, the song you might know. You know, I like all of those guys who sound like they've gargled a mixture of paving gravel and whiskey. That's my idea of a good rock and roll voice. This text says, a few years ago I was in Athens, Greece, and the ambient temperature reached 40 degrees Celsius. The human body temperature is typically 37 degrees. And I just actually combusted. It was the most spontaneous thing I ever did. Oh, no, I've been duped. A listener with material.
Oh, no.
Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hang about, Nick. Listen. Now, what I'm trying to say to you is this, Nick, right?
0345 6060 973. This text says, I had a telephone appointment on Wednesday with the DWP, but I couldn't attend due to the phone network being down. Between Thursday and this morning, I've been passed back and forth like ping pong. Nobody seems to want to sort it out, and I spent 6 hours in total between automated DWP and Serco. God, that must drive you mad. I mean, talk about painful. And Sam in Perth says, whenever I call a company and it gives me options to press, I ignore them until it eventually says it'll put me through to one of their representatives. Works every time. Well, it didn't work with me yesterday, because I tried that. But unbeknownst to myself, they'd pop back with another one of those questions. You know, does your call relate to any of the following 86,000 subjects? Pick the one that's closest to it. And none of them were. And so I hesitated for a bit. And then it came back with, we haven't had a response from you. Damn it. We will terminate this conversation it was like Mission Impossible. Your computer will explode in 5 seconds. Yeah, I've been through that. And what just fries my brain is that of all the kind of companies in the world, one that provides you with a phone line is not available on the phone. What's that about? I just think it's unreasonable. I mean, you'd expect a certain level of customer benefits, one of which would be to actually talk to a blooming human being every now and again when something goes wrong. And as I said, it wasn't my fault. They told me I hadn't paid my bill when I absolutely, totally had paid my bill. So I had to spend a half a morning correcting their mistake for free. But like I said before, I never complain.
Whinging and whining and moaning.
0345 6060 973. Plymouth. Hello, Julie.
Hello, Nick. Do you want to talk to me? I'm a human being.
Julie.
Problems.
Are you a human? Can I check whether you're a human being or not? Can you tick every square that's got a crosswalk in it?
Yes, of course I can. There you go. Done it.
And
Sorted.
now can you do the ones that have got a traffic light in them?
Oh, Nick, it's such hard work.
And now tick this box.
Keep my word.
No, tick this box.
Well, oh gosh, what am I ticking? I'm agreeing to what? I'm not happy about this.
Well, you know, I mentioned this a little while ago, and those who heard it probably won't forget it, but those who didn't might be surprised to learn that, you know, on those websites where it tells you tick all the squares in this picture that have got traffic lights in, or the one that just says, we're just checking whether you're human, tick this box.
Yes.
You know what it's actually doing?
It's taking all my information and plotting against me.
Well, that's not too far from the truth. It's
really?
It's not checking that you are ticking the boxes that have got whatever they told you to tick in it. You know, the ones that have got a cat in, stuff like that.
Yeah.
And did you ever wonder if you've seen the ones where it's just got a box and it says, please tick this box to show you're not a robot? Did you ever see those?
Yes.
It's just a box with nothing in it. It's just completely plain, and you just tick the box. Do you ever wondered, well, how do they know? All I'm doing is ticking the box.
Exactly, yes, exactly. How is that told them? I did wonder that.
Well, Julie, back in the mists of time, you once agreed to them, whoever they are, plotting and recording the movement of your mouse. What's happening is, if a robot was to tick that box, then the cursor would go straight to the box and tick it instantly. What a human does is take this sort of circuitous route around to it. It's not a direct straight line. It goes around a bit as you control your mouse to make the cursor move.
Yeah.
That's what it's checking. It's checking how you are moving your mouse.
Gosh.
Yes.
Gosh, thank you for that, Nick. I just won't do anything. I'm thinking about just hiding away.
Unplug all of your devices and close the curtains. Don't even think about going out.
Nick, I have to tell you this. Recently, I have been scammed by a cat.
Oh, a cat?
Yeah. A lovely black and white cat met me on the way back from the shops, and it seemed to be following people. And I said, "Oh, come on in." And I thought he was lost, no collar and that, and he was a lovely black and white cat.
Oh.
And I sort of like went into the cupboard, and I only had mackerel in spicy tomato sauce, so I had to wash the mackerel several times, and he ate that, and then he got on the bed, and then he went to sleep for 12 hours. He woke me up at 4 a.m. to say, "Can I go out?"
God.
And this cat is on the local news in Plymouth that he's got a map of everywhere he goes, and he just scams people. And I didn't know about it, and then I seen it, and it's like Mischief, his name is. He goes around. He came back the next day and slept for another 5 hours, and I had to wash some more mackerel. He said, "Why haven't you been in the shops and got me some nice tuna?" And I hadn't been out. And he's like, having a wash, and he slept again. And I thought, then I seen his owner say, "Please don't feed my cat. It's got a home."
Exactly.
But in the local news, they had like his plot of how far he travelled and all the sightings of him, and he's become viral. He's like, "Yeah, I've been scammed by a cat." He's eaten 2 tins of my mackerel. He slept on my bed for like a day and a half. Oh, I don't know, Nick. What is the world coming to?
Well, I don't know what the world is coming to when you wash mackerel. What's that about?
Well, I had to because it was in spicy tomato sauce, and I thought he's not going to want spicy. He was hungry.
But did you try it without the washing part? And he didn't like that?
He didn't like it, and then he ate it when I washed it, and he had some water, and then he slept, and he had wash. And
now, was it mackerel in a tin, or was it fresh mackerel?
It was. I'm afraid mackerel in a tin.
But even that's not cheap.
No. I mean, I said I've been scammed, and I couldn't fit in the bed because it fell asleep in the middle of the bed. I was like, oh my goodness, but he's so adorable.
I was sitting out and at the last place I had, and a cat limped across the garden.
Oh.
And then that was exactly my thought. I said it out loud, and then it spied me, and it started to come towards me, limping. And I've got this, there's like a spiral staircase going up to like a terrace, because it was on a hill, on a steep hill, so you climb a spiral staircase to get to what would be the ground floor at the front of the house. And it started coming up the steps towards me, where I was relaxing and having a nice time, staring into mid-distance, listening to some tunes.
Rock and roll!
Exactly.
Lovely.
And it was peering at me and then looking at the open door into the living room, and I thought, well, you're not coming in. I mean, I feel sorry for you and all, but you can't come in. And it just kept edging up the stairs and up the stairs until it got to the very top stair, and then I had to stand my ground and stop it from getting any further by putting my foot in the way. And it didn't really appreciate that very much, and it just kept staring into the living room as though that's where it wanted to go. But I was not as daft as you, Julie, and
I know. I actually let it in twice.
Yeah, and so I wasn't going to do that.
I want to take him out.
And once it realised that it wasn't going to get what it wanted, it went back down the steps and, without limping, just disappeared from view.
You're right about these cats. They're just waiting to take over the world. I'm very wary now. I don't go out. I never know what I might bring home.
You've got to be on your guard, Julie.
Yes, I will, Nick.
All
Thank
right.
you.
Okay.
Take care. Bye.
I appreciate it. Mackerel washer. You believe that? This text says, Nick, I was trying to complain to the council about a car outside my house for a month, and I filled in a long form online. Then I was asked to put a photo of it there. but I didn't have one. I'm elderly, so that was that. Well, that's unreasonable. I mean, you know, elderly people might not have a smartphone, and if they haven't got a camera, they haven't got a digital camera and the ability to, you know, download a JPEG or whatever the hell it is. I mean, what are you supposed to do? Drag one of them Photo-Me booths out of Tesco's, snap a car and then put it back? That's not reasonable. This text says, good restaurants offer you your money back in the event of the world ending. Well, that's no good. What are you going to do with it? Oh, the world is... we're being busted up into thinking that the world is actually going to end pretty soon, and there's alarming developments. I might not get to it tonight, but I will get to it most certainly on tomorrow's show, because there's a big thing happening, huge. Sam in Perth says, hi Nick, whenever... Oh no, done that one. Whenever it gives me options to press, I ignore them until it eventually says it'll put me through to one of their representatives. It works every time, says Sam in Perth. Well, it might work in Australia, Sam, but it don't work here. Not in my experience. And Tessa in Cardiff says, I have a first in philosophy. I'm not showing off or anything. Oh, I see, Tessa. This is you not showing off, is it? She says, I fail to see how someone deserving of PIP now will not be, in virtue of being a new claimant, in the future. Does that make sense? I fail to see how someone deserving of PIP now will not be, in virtue of being a new claimant, in the future. Well, maybe you need a first in philosophy to figure out what it is you're saying there, Tessa, because I can't. Because I didn't get a first in philosophy, I got a 2-2 in psychology, which means I don't know anything.
Correct. Nick Abbott on LBC. Call 0345 6060 973.
Hot H-O-T-A-I-R.
Yes, there's a lot of that about, no doubt. 0345 6060 973. Colchester. Hello, Judy.
Hello, Nick.
Judy.
I like it when you say that. I came up to bed rather late and turned the radio on just in time to hear you talking about Dire Straits and different bands.
Oh, yeah.
And the reason why I came up to bed so late was the fact that I put Glastonbury on, and a group was on. They'd already started when I turned it on, and I hadn't got a clue who they were or what they were. But they called the 1975. He said they were the 1975 from the internet. Now, what all that means, I don't know. But what I do know is, Nick,
yes.
I sat and watched it. The cat was laying there waiting for me to come up to bed, but I didn't. And they were absolutely brilliant.
Really? That is not what I thought you were going to say.
No, I know, and I surprised myself, really. And the more I watched, he was completely unique. He had some fabulous musicians. The chap on a saxophone, he played guitar. He was just... Well, I just couldn't believe it, really, and I've enjoyed every single second of it, and they were on for well over an hour. Just amazes me, because all the crowd, they all know all the words he's singing. Well, I'd never heard one of them before, but...
I mean, I've heard of them, but if my life depended on it, I would not be able to pick any of the band members out of a lineup. I have absolutely no idea who they are.
No, you wouldn't. The vocal, you know, the main chap.
Yeah.
He's got very curly hair.
Then I don't like them.
And I mean, when I first started watching him, he had a cigarette on, but...
what is that? I see so many young people these days smoking cigarettes. I mean, it's become like a new cool thing. How stupid are kids?
Well, I don't know. I mean, and the other thing he did was unusual. He disappeared off the stage, and it came up in lights at the back, and they said Matty, his name was, Matty is changing his trousers. And when he came back on, he had like a pair of suit trousers on and a shirt, and he put a tie on while he was standing there, and then he put a jacket on. So it was all totally unique. And
it sounds like a striptease in reverse.
Well, yes, because we didn't see him do that. But he had a couple of vocal girls as well that played instruments and then did. But honestly, I can honestly say that I thoroughly enjoyed it. And I
think it very much depends. Taking your evidence, Judy, it very much depends on what other kind of music you like as to whether we value your opinion about the 1975.
Well, I would have said that, I mean, that's 1975. Well, I'm 75, put it that way. And I wouldn't normally... I mean, I do like a bit more of the more modern music that happens now. I do try and avail myself of it a bit more.
Val Dunican, that sort of thing?
Well, I can remember him in his day, old, what's it, Mother McGinty's Goat, wasn't it?
I don't know.
That's what he used to sing.
Was it?
It was either Mother McGinty's Goat or Mr. McGinty. No, I think it was Mother McGinty's. Something of note.
Right.
Went somewhere and bought himself a goat.
She had a goat of note. I didn't know that.
Did you not? Well, you'll have to go and when you get home and you've rested, you'll have to make it your mission to look it up.
That sounds like homework to me.
Yes, I think it should be.
Right.
Well,
thanks
I always enjoy listening to you. So,
well, cheers, my dear. I appreciate it, and okay. Well, I'll give them a go.
Yeah, you give them a go.
I can't promise any more than that. All right.
Okay. Well, okay then. Night.
Okay. Thanks a lot, Judy. 1975. I don't know anything about them. I like most people, I stopped really paying very much attention to music after teenagerhood. And this is not an unusual thing, is it? Because the music of your youth is the most important music that you will ever have. And, you've got a lot of memories and a lot of feelings and emotions is all tied up with that, which is not the same as liking something in adult life because, adult life compared to teenagerhood, it's a little bit dull by comparison. And so you don't have the same relationship with the music of now as you used to when you were 17, 18 years old. And that stuff will always be good to you. But I'm also, even though I might over-egg it a bit, I'm also not of the opinion that all modern music is rubbish. Because there's some great stuff being done. It just, to my ears, mostly sounds like stuff that I've heard before, Loads of bands sound like Velvet Underground. Since the Velvet Underground, I'd say about 50% of the modern bands that have come out sound like the Velvet Underground. Some of them sound more like the Velvet Underground than the Velvet Underground. And if it's not that, then it's the Stones and, all of that good stuff. And I do maintain that even if there is excellent music being made these days, none of it is better than the things that they sound like that originally came out in the 1970s. I mean, Stephen Wilson, I think that's the name. It's such a bland name. I keep forgetting what his name is. I mean, he's made this album called The Outlier, I think it is. I think that's right. And it's my favourite album of the year so far. And it's like a mashup of Aphex Twin and Pink Floyd and Yes and, a little bit of Kate Bush. And it's brilliant, but it's not as good as albums by Pink Floyd and Kate Bush and Yes and Aphex Twin and so on. But I thoroughly recommend it, and it should be on a turntable near you soon. Thurrock. Colin.
Hello.
Yes, sir.
As you want to get through to these telephone lines,
go
through to the one that says, would you like to join or would you like to pay a bill? And they usually put you through straight away.
Yeah, they didn't give me that option. They said... maybe I just gave the wrong answer too early on, and, what would you like to talk to us about? And I said, my bill. If I had said at that moment, leaving, then you're probably right. I would have got put through to a human being immediately.
Yeah.
One of the retention team.
And the other quick thing I was going to say to you, as of regarding of cats
they're not my favourite pet at the moment.
Why is that?
Because I had a Ring video sent from my wife,
Yeah.
and I like my garden. I've got all nice lines in my garden.
Yes. But
And what do we get today on the Ring video?
yes.
A cat go and dig a hole, go and toilet.
Oh. In your precise lawn lines.
On number 3 line.
Well, there's nothing you can do about that other than putting down like lion dung. I think is something that would make all animals leave the area immediately. All you've got to do is get hold of a lot of lion dung, Colin.
Yeah, we tried that with the foxes. That didn't work.
Didn't it?
No.
You actually got lion dung.
Lion poo, yeah, from the, what's it called? The shop. To us, as I know it's lion poo, and you put it down, and it's meant to, foxes are not meant to like it.
No, I wouldn't think that they would, but apparently they're not bothered.
No, they don't bother about that.
In much the same way as foxes don't seem to be bothered by human beings. Even if we, wave our arms in the air and shout at them and run towards them, and they just stand there and stare at us, don't they? I find that incredibly annoying. Because I think I'm being frightening. But apparently foxes do not share that opinion.
There is one thing that it does seem to work. It's male urine.
I'm not sure that's true, because I've had builders working around my place, and I'm sure that the surrounding area is absolutely coated in human urine, but I've still got loads of foxes, so I'm not sure about that.
Well, I do believe strongly it does work.
Right. Okay. Well, I'll give it a go. I'm not sure the neighbours would appreciate it, but I'll see what works. All right. Good work. Thanks a lot, Colin. See, and where is he? Thurrock. Couldn't barely hear a word he said. Nothing works in this country. Anne in Glasgow said, why is it taking so many days after the weekend to upload your Friday and Saturday shows to the app? It's infuriating, as I can't always listen to you live. Please help, says Anne in Glasgow. Well, that's down to the glamorous assistant, that is. Whoever it may be at the time. It's not my department. I do ask them when it doesn't go up straight away. I do ask, pretty please with sugar on top, can you put them up? And sometimes it works and sometimes it doesn't. Not my department, Anne, but I can offer you an apology.
I am very sorry that I screwed up. Totally I am so sorry. You just don't know how sorry I am. I'm sorry.
Very apologetic. Sorry about that whole delay thing. Sarah says, Nick, I've given birth to an idiot. My daughter is at her school leavers dance tonight before off to uni. She's wearing a red frock, which unfortunately matches her shoulders and face after an impulsive beach trip yesterday with her friends. Why no sun cream? I asked. It was cloudy, came the response. Kids, eh? Says Sarah. Yeah, I blame the parents. You can still get burnt even if it's cloudy, that's right. What was surprising is that it were grand in my youth. We used to be on the beach, like, all day when we went on holiday, with not even the thought of putting suntan lotion on. In fact, suntan lotion at that time had 0 SPF. It was just oil that smelled of coconuts. You remember that stuff? And yet we didn't get burnt. How is that possible? Is the sun stronger than it used to be? I think somebody should look into that. Very strongly.
This is LBC with Nick Abbott. Call 0345 6060 973. Text 84850. Alexa, send a comment to LBC.
Come on, we're running late.
We are running late. Jamie in York texts, to have a 2-tier system where 2 people with the same condition get different financial benefits due to the dates they applied, seems absurd, inconsistent, unfair to the latter applicants. It comes across as desperate, amateurish, and rather bizarre. Starmer is incompetent, he says. Well, I mean, I have a bit of sympathy for him, because we're running a system that is unaffordable. If in about 10 years' time, the benefits bill for PIP is going to be £70 billion a year, then I guess Starmer has two options. One, he can try to get that bill down and inconvenience and upset some people. Or he could say, well, you know what, we're going to be super generous and we're going to give everybody exactly what they want, regardless of their circumstance. We're not going to check anymore. If people say that they need this money, then we're going to give it to them. And in that circumstance, nobody would be able to complain that some people are missing out because everybody would get it. But how are you going to pay for it? You're going to have to pay for it by raising taxes, and nobody wants that. So we want nice things, but we don't want to pay for them. And that just doesn't work. So people have to pick one. Either everybody gets the benefits that they may or may not be due. We don't check, because checking would it might get a lot of people who are trying to game the system, but there's bound to be people who aren't, who would be affected by that, because, you know, mistakes are made in a big organisation like that. So we're either going to have to pay more tax, or we're going to have to restrict the bill in some way. Pick one. But nobody wants to pick one. You want both. You want low taxes and the things that taxes pay for. Ada in London says, and by the way, Keir Starmer, how's being Prime Minister working out for you?
Fabulous.
Yeah, that's what I thought. Who would want that job? You'd have to be nuts. Ada in London says, have you got your new T-shirt yet? Your friend Donny has a new T-shirt showing Daddy Trump, as he was called by someone, and he appeared so chuffed by that he's used it to raise even more money than he needs. Yeah, it's amazing. You go onto that website, and you can buy the T-shirt for $35. But that's not what they want you to do, because they give you lots of options apart from that one, which is you can have it for $35 and give $100 to, I can't remember what the exact phrase is, but it's something like Donald Trump's Freedom Fund. Or you can give, you can be a special Donny friend by buying the T-shirt for $35 and giving $500. I mean, he's just pulling money out of these yeehaws. It's just incredible. I mean, if they're not buying his fake money coin, then they're buying his hats, or they're buying his ties, and they're buying his shirts, and they're buying I mean, has anybody in history ever monetized a political position like this man is doing right now? I mean, if anybody else had done it in the history of America, they'd probably be in jail right now. But because it's him, people just go, well, that's just Donald Trump. That's just him. Red Hill. Hello, Christian.
Oh, hi.
Christian. Yes, sir.
Hi, I was just calling in because I heard you speaking earlier to someone about how websites track your mouse for the recaptures. And I just wanted to point out that obviously when you're on your phone and you're tapping the screen, there's no mouse movements there. So the way that they do it is they can look at basically your entire browsing history. They can look at your gyroscope to see how your phone is moving. They can see how hard you're pressing and what angle you're pressing from. And basically all of the data you can imagine on your phone is going to this website to check whether you're whether you're a human or not. And the only way you can get through these tests then is to give consent at some point along the way for Google to start collecting all this stuff about you.
Is it them that are doing it? Google?
Yeah, so typically the website is outsourcing the robot check to Google because Google already has all this data about you.
Well, I thought it was bad, but this is way worse. Good grief. So
no one reads the small print.
Nobody reads the small print. And at what point in our lives did we agree to that?
Exactly.
Well, no, I'm asking you.
Well, when you make your Google account and everything that you do on it from that point forward is collected and stored, and no one ever goes and clears it all.
That is absolutely terrifying. So the way in which they find out whether you are a robot or not, and I guess, fair enough that people are making these programs that can, flood internet websites for whatever reason, buying tickets to Glastonbury and then selling them on at 10 times the price and so on.
Yeah,
so
exactly.
They do need to know whether you're a human being or not, but they find out whether you're a human being by looking at everything you've ever done on your phone.
Yeah, to an extent, yeah. Well, anything you've done whilst logging into Google, so they can't really see what you're doing inside your apps and things like that, unless you have a Google phone. But yeah, whilst you're browsing, they're collecting every site you go to.
Do you remember
the way that your phone moves?
Do you remember that famous picture of Mark Zuckerberg? He had a laptop and he'd covered the camera with a plaster and he covered the microphone with a plaster as well. Do you remember seeing that?
I don't remember seeing that, but I do know a lot of people that cover their cameras, yeah.
Because I'm guessing that at some point in our lives, we have agreed without checking that they can access our cameras and our microphones on our phones.
Yeah.
And if you think about one of the first things you do of the day, right after breakfast, happy morning sit-down time, somebody could be staring at you doing that. Oh, my God.
There's also a Black Mirror episode about it. I don't know if you've seen it, where there's a group that are blackmailing people based on videos that they've captured through people's laptops of them committing crimes and things like that.
Yeah.
Terrifying.
Well, it is terrifying. I remember during COVID, you remember we were all encouraged to not go to the bar in a pub, where in the brief periods when they were actually open. You had to you had to put your take a picture of a QR code and then agree to the terms and conditions of the app so that you could order a pint so that somebody would bring it to your table without actually interacting with you. You remember that? Well, I said no. I want in a restaurant, I want an actual printed menu. I'm not downloading the app because I looked at the terms and conditions. And to just get a pint in a pub, they wanted full access to all my contacts. They wanted full access to my camera and full access to my microphone, just to order a pint.
Yeah, and it's a captive audience because at that point you're not going to turn around and go home.
Exactly. And so I stood my ground and I insisted on speaking to somebody using my mouth.
Yeah, good on you.
Yeah, you remember that, don't you? Talking. Yeah. And how do you know all this, Christian?
It's something that I try and look into whenever I can because I'm worried about the increasing amount of information that everyone seems to have on you all the time.
I think that Google probably knows more about you than you know about you. I think that they can.
That's the thing.
That they can create a pretty accurate profile of somebody based on about 5 or 6 questions or answers to questions. And by that method, they can rule the world because they are able to precisely identify your needs and your interests, and can do targeted ads to make sure that you vote for their required candidate.
Yeah.
And here we are. All right.
Well, it's when they've got it, but they can sell it on to someone, or someone can hack them, and then it's in even worse hands.
Yeah. It's a scary new world. I'm not brave. You've got to be brave to live in it. All right. Well, It's been alarming talking to you, Christian. Thanks for that. Keep your eyes peeled. It's worse than I thought. And what I thought was bad, I thought they were just tracking your mouse movements. But they're actually looking at everything you do on your phone. Right, so let's try and put that behind us and see if we can get some pleasure from these texts before I go. How many have I got? Oh, my God. 11 pages. You're joking. Well, I'll get through a few and then I'll do the rest tonight. Also, tonight I want to talk about, when I come back tonight at 10, I want to talk about, we're being encouraged to believe that we're all about to experience World War III. And there's going to be an alarm. You heard about that? Well, I'll talk about that later. This text said, or says rather, Ada, no, got that one. This says, we're constantly being told that there's not enough money. But no one seems to have caught on to the fact that rich people might have it all. Rishi Sunak would tell us that there's not enough money, and everyone failed to respond, yeah, because it's in your pocket. Rishi Sunak, blimey, there's a blast from the past.
This government...
Yeah, that bloke. Still not missing you, Fishy. But we'll know where to find you if we do. You'll be with David Cameron in the shed where they keep the tools.